So I started the recording. At the beginning, we have a brief presentation video by our president of ICOM Italy, Michele Lanzinger. So enjoy.
Dear colleagues, dear colleagues, it's a pleasure to give a warm welcome to everybody to this relevant webinar on museum communication. Thanks to Cristina Chiaiso and all the people of the ICOM Italia working group on museum communication at first. And many thanks to Vesa Kuokkala, head of marketing, sales and research of Heureka, the Finnish Science Center in Vantaa. I like to recall the importance of this science center. I visited so many times in the last 20 years. An institution that gave to myself, as a past director of this science museum in Trento, so many useful insight, and thanks to the warm friendship with the actual director, Nico Milikowski. So there is a sort of personal relation with your science center, Vesa. Congratulations, may say, to our working group and its chairs, Cristina Chiaiso, for the relation opened with NPR, the International Committee for Marketing and Public Relations. One of the core functions of ICOM is to facilitate the global relation among people working in the museum at the global scale. In this case, a mutual enrichment. And thanks again, and congratulations for this commitment to participate and to build up networking activities with, as we said, NPR. And my role is only to thank you all, but allow me to recall the importance of the Communication Actions Museum. Communication is not just a task, but is a part of the work in the activities of the museums. All the projects, since their conception, have to consider and develop communication strategies specifically suited to the specific product, but harmonized with the brand, the specific brand of style that characterizes each museum. It's something that all you communication know very well. It's something that you have to represent and sustain along the whole production chains of museum. Is something that we have to consider and put in resonance with our colleagues that are the curators or in the other specific sector of our activity. Is something to be carried by professional people. And I think that this webinar will help you and all of us to have a useful insight about that. Dear and esteemed colleagues, dear Vesa, have an interesting and fruitful webinar. Thank you for your participation. Buon lavoro a tutti e cari saluti. Thank you very much.
So now we'll leave the floor to Cristina Chiaiso, the coordinator of the working group of museum communication of ICOM Italy. So please, Cristina, whenever you want.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see it properly?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to our president, Michele Lanzinger, for his greetings. And thank you very much, Vesa Kuokkala, for being here. And thank you all for being all together for this new amazing experience called Museum Unmuted. So Museum Unmuted is a project presented by the National Working Group on Museum Communication of ICOM Italy, which I'm proud to coordinate. So I will thank you all the participants and of course the collaboration with ICOM NPR, the International Committee for Marketing and Public Relations. Let me just tell you something, a few words about what we do. That's that's us. We thank you, Lidia Benavoli, Antonia Caola, particular reference for the museum amputed of today, Fabrizio Carbotti, Mattias Favarato, Nicolette Mandarano, Clementina Rizzi. We work about museum communication, and we try to point out, our goal is to point out the activities, the skills, the human resources involved in the complex process of communication within museum and cultural institutions. So we are trying to define the profiles, the competencies and skills. We are going to look at particular themes of interest of topics like crisis management or other, and we work to be recognized as professionals within the museums and cultural institutions. So this project has been developed within the activities of the group to define the scenario of Italian territory, but it's also in international context. So that's why we are asking some colleagues from other important museum and cultural institutions to share their how they work within communications in their institutions. Just other few words about the keywords we as a working group pointed out, like strategy, storytelling, engagement, vision, content, professionalism, competencies, and valorization, ethics, and tools. We are working on a huge topic, and we are trying to better understand how it works, and to find out the best way to be recognized as professionals within our activities. So thank you again to ICOM NPR for the collaboration, and for Heureka, the Finnish Science Center. And we are so pleased today to start our Museum Unmuted with the participation of Vesa Kuokkala. He is the head of marketing, sales, and research at the Heureka, the Finnish Science Center. I leave the floor to him, and at the end we'll have some time to discuss, to question and answers, so we can better understand maybe some topics if you are curious. This is an opportunity to share experiences. So I would ask everyone who's joining us today to feel free to write down some questions or I don't know, things that we would like to talk about more. And so I thank you so much, Vesa Kuokkala, for being here. I leave the floor to him. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Cristina. Glad to be here. I'll share my screen. I'm assuming everything's showing okay.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Yes. So I'm Vesa Kuokkala, and I am the head of marketing, sales, and research in Heureka Science Center. We are located in Vantaa, in the capital area of Finland, so about 15 minutes away from our capital, Helsinki. And we have around 2,080 visitors per year, and we've been founded 1989. So I'm going to talk about mainly communications, but also about our organization and my team especially, but also marketing. And here is the agenda. So I'll first introduce myself, our organization, and my team. Then I'll be talking about communications, our segments, then our marketing budget breakdown, media outlets, and when do we do marketing at Heureka. And then there will be time for Q&A. So first, who am I? So I started working at Heureka almost 9 years ago, late 2015, as the senior marketing officer. And then I have been the head of marketing and sales since 2018 and head of marketing, sales and research from 2023. My education, I have a bachelor's degree in international business, but I also have a master's degree in economics and creative business management. And I didn't work in the cultural industry or sector before. My background is quite interesting because I came from sports marketing, and people always ask, how did you end up in Heureka? So it's a long story, but glad to be here. About Heureka, so here is our organizational chart. So we have 4 directors and we have 9 units, and then we have 2 separate companies. So the separate companies are Heureka Overseas Productions, which is our export company. We export our exhibitions and also do consultation. And then we have our Heureka shop, which is basically our museum shop or science center shop. We have our CEO, Mikko Myllykoski, who does not have any direct employees under him, but each of the 3 other directors are managing a certain amount of units. So for example, my unit or my team is under the director of communications and services, Heli Aino, and under Heli is also our customer service unit and our inspiration unit, and Heli also manages Heureka shop. Now I know a lot of you might be thinking, what is inspiration? What is an inspiration unit? They are inspirers, so basically they are our guides, but we just chose to call them inspirers. And then we have our IT, production, planning, and design units, which are all under our experience director, Vesa Lepistö, and Vesa also oversees our overseas productions company. And then our deputy CEO, Ari Kurenmaa, oversees our partnerships and administration. And we work pretty closely within our organization. So we share information between different units using different tools and ways, which I will tell more about in the coming slides. But first, about my team. So I have 3 basically different elements. So we have the sales part. We have 2 sales reps who do basically most of their work is B2B sales. So we sell a lot of facilities, for example, our auditorium and group working spaces and so on. But we also have big events, like someone actually had a wedding at Heureka this summer. So we do all kinds of stuff. Then on the marketing side, we have 2 marketing specialists, 2 communication specialists, and a graphic designer. And on the research side, we have a research specialist and an audience development specialist. And to break it down, what these people do, marketing. So the other marketing specialist, she has an emphasis on brand, B2B events, and exhibition marketing. And the other one is focusing on school marketing. Then the comm specialist, the other one focuses on social media and PR, and the other communication specialist does or is in charge of website and e-commerce. And e-commerce in this instance means our ticket shop. And our graphic designer does everything related to marketing and communications. We also have 2 other graphic designers who are working in the design and planning unit. So their work, I think around 50% of their work is towards exhibition planning. Then on the research side, which is quite important to us because we want that every decision is information based. So we don't want to be guessing, is this the right decision or not? So our research specialist works throughout the whole organization, providing important information of our audience, for example, of our audiences, pricing, reasons people visit Heureka or reasons they do not visit Heureka. These are just a few examples what she does. And then we also have an audience development coordinator, and this is quite new, and she is contacting and attracting underrepresented audiences. So meaning basically people who have just or recently moved to Finland and they do not necessarily speak Finnish or even English, and they do most likely or most often they do not have any clue what a science center or a museum for that instance is. Is it for them? Who should visit there? What should you do there? And so she's trying to attract those groups, mainly groups, not individuals. And we've been doing this for a year and a half, and it's going slowly, but it's going forward. Then about our communications, let me see if I can see everything I wrote there, because well, so we do press releases from every exhibition, event, cooperation, research results, for example. And these press releases are sent to over 5,000 recipients or narrowed by segment, mainly journalists or people who write to any media. Then our website, which is basically our most important communications channel. We launched a new version of this earlier this year in March, so it's quite new, and we emphasize on user experience and usability, meaning that we want everything to be smooth as possible. We want to make it in a way that is understandable. No jargon, no fancy things, just like what people need to find. And also we try to put news about recent events on our website. Then we have our newsletters or email marketing. We have basically 3 bigger newsletters. The general Heureka newsletter, which has also over 30,000 subscribers. We have one for teachers, over 8,000 subscribers, and one on the B2B side with over 2,000 subscribers. We send these newsletters. We do not send them often because we've been doing tests. Like if you send them too often, people are dropping out. So we send them maybe like every 2 weeks, and the opening rate is around 25 to 30%. So it's been quite solid for a long time. So when we want to communicate or send, for example, an email newsletter, we never do things just to send them. So we always measure how did this perform? Should we change something? Was this content interesting? If not, let's not do it again, or let's change the focus or something similar to that. Then of course, social media. Basically, here's our social media strategy. So we renewed our social media strategy a year and a half ago. It was recently relying heavily on Facebook and Instagram, but now the 2 main channels are TikTok and Instagram. TikTok is something that we tried to launch for a year almost, but it didn't go that well. But we relaunched it maybe 8 months ago, a year ago, and now it's going quite nicely. We only have 3,000 followers, but we're all over 50,000 in likes. So the main thing for us was to notice that when you're doing TikTok, it's really person driven. So we tried to do it first without any people in front of the camera, and it didn't work. It completely flopped. And once we got a person in front of the camera, it exploded or started working quite nicely. So the target audience is 13 to 25-year-olds. So this is completely different from any other channel. Every other channel, from Instagram, Facebook to X, the demographics are 70% female, 30% male, and the age range is 25 to 44-year-olds. Instagram, I might say, is the most important communications channel on the social media side at the moment with over 10,000 followers. We share current events, news, science facts. Target audience is 25 to 44-year-olds, and it's of course video and visual driven content. Then Facebook, we have only over 30,000 followers, and we feel that it's the best platform to interact with our audience in depth. So people like to communicate, they like to write longer sentences, take part in something that we ask, nostalgia. If we put like video or a picture of our, let's say, our exhibition that was in Heureka 1998, people are super excited to share their experiences, like, oh, I remember I was there, when are you bringing this exhibition back, and so on. So we have a lot of good discussions with our audiences in Facebook, but the target audience is more mature on Facebook. Then LinkedIn is basically our B2B channel for B2B communication and marketing, and also for showcasing our cooperation cases with our partners. So this has been super important to share every time we do a cooperation with some company, to share the case on LinkedIn. And then X or Twitter has almost 1,500 followers, but it's only used for press releases and current news about Heureka, and the target audience is mainly journalists and partners who like to retweet our tweets. And the use has been on decline for quite some time now, and we have also tried Threads by Meta, but it didn't go any better than with X. So we will be determining the use of X during next year. So this was how we share information externally. We of course share information internally, and it's super important, as many of you might know, that there's always some gaps, like I didn't get the memo or I didn't get the information. So we try to emphasize on that. So we hold Friday seminars for the whole organization, almost every Friday. The subjects vary from current events. There might be a keynote speaker, there might be a project manager from our organization telling where are we with, let's say, a certain project or exhibition. There might be our CEO telling what he has learned during his travels or seminars or whatever, or there might be some outside people telling about survey results. Then we have our internal communication channel, intranet. So we use that, actually, we use Teams, so it's built inside of Teams. For example, I myself and my team work almost 90% remotely, so we don't have to open another web page and log into a separate platform. So it's been quite convenient. And if we have urgent internal messages, we send those with a send to all email. So email is still king when you have to reach everyone really quickly. Then we also attend other team meetings. We try to observe and share information. So if we feel that if the information is not shared enough, we don't have to wait the information to come to us. We can just go to another team meeting and ask, hey, can I come and listen? Maybe I'll learn something. And typically there are at least 1 to 2 people from my team, for example, in every bigger project, let's say exhibition project or events project. About tone of voice in communications. So press releases, they are made in a more formal form, but for social media, marketing copy text, website, content, newsletter, etc., which is more like marketing driven, we have set like a brand guidebook for our tone of voice. So it has 3 elements. We want to be playful and insightful, but not childish. We want to be credible and knowledgeable, but not serious. And we want to be communicating things in a simple way and avoiding unnecessary jargon. And of course, when we are putting out, for example, press releases or whatever, we are measuring and analyzing. So we are not just putting things out and wishing for the best. So we use this tool called Retriever for monitoring media hits, and Retriever Listen to track mentions on social media. So here you can see an example of last 30 days of our social media hits. And this, we also, of course, use different tools, meta tools and stuff like that for measuring social media. But this also tracks blogs and discussion forums. So things we cannot see on other platforms. So we get a hit when someone mentions Heureka in a discussion forum or a blog. So these are extremely helpful if we want to track feedback, for example, but also if we want to share, if we have a positive review on a blog or whatever. And then we also monitor the media coverage. So how many times Heureka has been mentioned or a news article has been published of us for, let's say, in TV or digital newspaper, and so on. Then our segments. So this is not every year, the split is not for every year, but it gives you a general understanding of what type of people visit us. So from the 280,000 visitors annually, around 70% are basically domestic consumers, which are families, and they typically have at least one under 12-year-old child with them. Then we have around 50,000 school visitors, which amounts to 15% or more or less yearly. And then we have B2B visitors and event visitors. Events, we do different kind of events. We do events for adults only. We do science camps for younger children, and we do family events. And every one of these 4 major segments has their own marketing strategy and marketing budget. And I think this budget was actually for next year, but this split is also looks kind of different year to year. But next year we have when we have an exhibition which is definitely worth promoting, instead of just going with brand marketing, we try to do exhibition marketing. So for next year, our main exhibitions amount to over 50% of the marketing budget. Then we do brand marketing around 20 to 25% of the budget. School marketing is around 7 to 10%, depending on the year. We also do a lot of development and research. So development basically means that we try to constantly develop our webpage, our e-commerce presence, software systems that need developing or so on, and research. We try to do a lot of research activities in-house, but we also buy them outside, depending on the need. For example, pricing surveys, we don't do it ourselves. We hire a company to do those. And then B2B and events around 3% each. And our media outlets for this year looked like this. So outdoor and digital advertising are the most successful and the biggest ones that we use. And we also, every time we do a marketing campaign, more or less every time, not every time, but we try to do it every time. We try to measure the campaign, what worked, what didn't work. And outdoor advertising has been a staple for us. It has always worked, and people see our marketing when we go outside. We do radio. We have just started doing Spotify marketing also. interesting fact that in Finland alone, there are over 800,000 users on Spotify Free, which allows advertising. So this has been a quite nice addition to our marketing outlets. Then we do TV advertising, but it's quite expensive in Finland, so we tend to do movie theaters more often. So basically showing our ads during the trailers of the films. Print is 5%, but I think that is not accurate because we have toned down our print advertising quite heavily, and I think it's like maybe 1 or 2% for this year. And we have done only, I think, brochures, but we do some magazines and newspapers if we see a good fit for the things that we are trying to do. The thing that has been on the rise is influencer marketing. So we have a lot of big influencer campaigns. We have done events for influencers. So we have done especially events for influencers where they see that exhibition before even media sees it, but the traditional media sees it, even before we have the grand opening. So this has been a quite nice thing for us because recommendations, word of mouth is super important, especially when talking about Heureka, because we are a place for children. So people who have children tend to visit Heureka, and if they have a negative or a positive experience, they will share it with other parents in playgrounds and whatnot. So, and then lastly about the marketing timeline. So I think this is quite interesting also, because when I started working in Heureka only did basically marketing during the high seasons, which are the 3 holidays, winter, summer, and fall holidays, and they all amount roughly around 40% of our annual visitors come during these high seasons. But I was thinking, like, what about the other 60%? When do they visit, or is there potential for those people to come during our quieter periods? So we also did a survey about potential visitors or visitors who haven't visited Heureka at all, and we wanted to find out the reasons they have not been for a while or ever at Heureka. And the reason was not price, it was not the content, it was if someone just reminded me that you are existing. And this led to heavily investing into top of mind marketing. So here the green line shows that we want to do top of mind marketing within a 50-kilometer radius. So basically meaning the capital area of Heureka. So we figured that these people are the potential audience who we might get to come on a regular weekend. But during those holiday peaks, winter, summer, and fall holidays, we go further. So the radius where people come to Heureka from is around 250, 300 kilometers. So that's the radius also where we do marketing. And the bigger campaigns, we do it only 3 times per year outside of the capital region. It took 25 minutes. I went 5 minutes over time, but thank you. You can also contact me later. Here's my email address, and I'm glad to answer any questions that might arise.
Thank you very much, Vesa. It has been very interesting. Sorry. I was just like to point out some few things that I found particularly interesting. you define all the scenario and all the things that are inside. So thank you very much for sharing all these informations. That there is a lot of food for thought, I would say. I really appreciate the idea that one or two people from your staff is within other staff meetings of other units or departments, within the idea that communication is spread within all the institution. I would say it's not something apart. It's something that is working and make things working all together. And also what you pointed out about the importance of the feedback, of monitoring the results on the goals you have, you defined. So I guess that probably you also define some KPI about that, and you can also, of course, work on them. Then the importance of the budget, and I found out very interesting that you had the 23% on branding, and also the development and research. That's a very important topic, and you invest a lot of your budget about that. And the importance of the timeline, and very interesting, the idea of, the proximity, and also what you told us about that. As we shared, I have two curiosities, two topics. I would like you to tell us something more about it, if you like. The first one is about strategy. I say how the communication strategy is defined when you work, for a new project or for the branding of the museum. Which are the units that are involved in that? And then I am pretty curious about the inspiration unit or department. I don't know. I don't remember where is it positioned in the chart. So if you like to tell us something more about these two topics. And in the meantime, we are going to collect if there are any questions from the audience, and curiosity or things that you like to listen to. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. About the strategy, first, we do things, I think, quite differently than others. We do everything in a more informal way. So, for example, I'll start from the beginning. My boss, which is the director of communications and services, Heli, handles a lot of the communications duties. Let's say press releases and planning when to release a statement or a press release. But let's say that we have an exhibition coming out. Let's take an example. We are opening our next exhibition on February. So we are at the moment planning marketing and communications wise for this release after the holidays. I think from September we started. So now we are building a timeline. When should we have our website open? What does it say? When the press releases are released? When do we have our media or press event? When do we have our opening ceremony? So we do those things pretty much like 6 months beforehand. Sometimes even for a longer period of time. But so people who work within this communications issue for the upcoming event or the release of our new exhibition is of course my team, and then the director of communications, but also the project team. So the project team always knows when we are going to do things, and we run things like fact check things from them, and they are in constant interaction with us. So there's no surprises. Like there's not a divide that they do the exhibition and we do the communication. I like to think that we more do it together. and also like just basic communication. So we have a meeting, a 3-hour meeting every 2 weeks with our directors and with the department heads, and we have like an agenda for every meeting. And then if there is something that we have to discuss relating to communications, we all discuss it together. Of course, some of us have more expertise in this field, but it's more like a cooperative event, not just like me or Heli telling like this is how we're going to do. We're always asking like, hey, what do you think? Should we do this? Is this the wrong way? And then our inspirers. So we have guides, just telling people, just welcoming people to Heureka, but also arranging science events, science shows. We have basketball rats, so rats who play basketball. So we have the inspirers are also in charge of those. And if we have any like science shows or things relating to science shows, those are things that the inspiration unit is in charge of.
Thank you very much. So we have 2 questions, I guess. The first one is from Antonia Caola. I don't know if you can read it or I read it for you. She said, thank you. I wanted to ask you about the retrieval tool you use. What sort of tool is it precisely, and who is providing it to you?
Yeah, so I think it's a global tool, because I'm not actually sure. I was just thinking, is it a Finnish tool or I think it's a Scandinavian tool, but I can post it here on the chat. I think so. Let me see here. Here you go. That goes into just take the FI away from the link. So we have been using this for I think a year or 2 years. We have had previously similar tools, but they have been not working the way that we want. But so basically you set up the keywords that you want to track on social media. Of course, social media, you use hashtags, and I think you can also track accounts if they mention you. And in the monitor section, you can track keywords, for example, Science Center Heureka, Science Helsinki, and so on, and it will form a report. And the report comes, I think it comes every day at 9 o'clock to the emails that are set up, those who want the information. But this is actually, if I have to be completely honest, this is something that we could do a bit better, the monitoring and forming the analysis. For example, I would want to develop it so that we have a quarterly report for, let's say, every 3 to 4 months, to go through in depth what has been said. Are our KPIs met? So this is not something that is, I'm not completely happy. We get like a glimpse and we know what's happening, but to really deep dive into the reports, that's something that we have to still develop.
Thank you very much, Vesa. And another question. Okay. So Antonia is in the chat. You can see she answered also to you. And another question is from Fabrizio Carbotti. Thank you for sharing your experience. Could you share any personal challenges you have faced in leading Heureka's sales and marketing efforts, and how they have shaped your approach to museum communication?
Yeah, I'm just reading the question myself. Give me a second. I really don't have any personal, what was the phrase, personal challenges. But something that I will speak highly on is the freedom to work wherever you want. So we have my team. So let's take it back. Before COVID, we had a rule. We have to be in the office for this and this many days per week, and you can do remote work for, let's say, 1 or 2 days. But after COVID, we decided that every unit is different. Every position is different. So there is not like a fit for all that suits everyone. So we let the teams decide how they want to work. And my team wanted to work so that they could just choose where they want to work. We try to be at the office at least 1 day per week. Mostly it's 2 days, but the work satisfaction went through the roof. It's like 98% for my team at the moment, and they are truly happy that they can be the manager of their own time. And I think that's not a challenge, but that's something that has pushed has worked for us very well, and people are happy with that. So I think it's vice versa, like it's the opposite of challenge.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Because we are closing. So if there aren't any other questions, and you can, as Vesa told us, you can contact him also, or you can write to our working group to deepen all these topics, and we'll be more than happy to try to answer to you. So I'm going to share again my screen just to give you a preview of the next meetings of Museum Unmuted. So just a second. Okay. Okay. So we are going to meet on Friday, 8th November with Luis Marcelo Mendes. He's a journalist and consultant for cultural institutions and ICOM NPR board member. And we are going to share with him his experience as a consultant for communications and branding for cultural institutions. And after that, we are going to meet on Friday, 6th December with Trish Thomas. She is the head of digital innovation at London Museum. And so we are going to talk about this very interesting project of a museum in London. So I would thank you very much, all of you, for being with us, and see you soon. Thank you very much. Do not hesitate to contact us for any further information. And thank you again to Vesa Kuokkala for sharing his experience today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.